I can do it over and over again. It's the moment I'm sitting in a chair, holding my firstborn son for the very first time. I'm excited, I'm terrified, and I'm absolutely clueless about what's ahead. I look down at him and I think two things. Number one, I love you. And number two, I'll never let anything happen to you. Fast forward 18 months and life throws you a curveball. Something happens to that little boy that I can't protect him from. He's diagnosed with autism. My firstborn son, the boy who made me a dad, is now on a journey I never saw coming. This is part one of our story. Welcome back to Dad Games Podcast, where the dad game earns the video game. I'm your host. My name is Chris, aka Columbango. That's Columbango. For those trying to add me on Xbox and PlayStation and, have a little game time. But today, the topic isn't just about gaming. It's about autism, my son's diagnosis, my reaction to it, and what I've learned as a father trying to navigate life when parenting a child with autism. Let's rewind to the beginning. I couldn't wait to become a dad. My wife and I were thrilled when we found out we were expecting Jackson. My wife crushed it during her first pregnancy, and out came this perfect little boy, the most handsome little dude ever. And yes, I'm biased, of course. You fall in love instantly, right? You look at your kid and you think, I'm going to protect you from everything. Then reality hits. When Jackson was diagnosed with autism, I felt like I'd failed him. That's silly to say, right? But as a dad, you want to fix things, all right? You want to protect your kids from everything. And autism, it wasn't something I could shield him from. I spiraled into a loop of what ifs. What if he never speaks? What if he struggles to understand basic conversations? What if he gets locked away in his own mind, unable to connect with anybody? These thoughts would just constantly run through my mind. And I thought I had failed him in some way. Let me tell you, those what ifs, they can eat you alive. Not even gaming could pull me out of it. And if taking people's heads off in Call of Duty can't help, you know it's bad. I hit a point where I had to make a choice. I could either wallow in despair or figure this thing out. And here's your spoiler alert. I chose the latter. Here is what I learned, friends, and this is really important, okay? Autism isn't the problem. The problem is how the world responds to autism. My son, he isn't broken by any means. He's navigating a world that wasn't built with him in mind. And as his dad, it's my job to be his guide, his advocate, and sometimes even his translator. Acceptance was my first big boss fight in this autism journey. Once I stopped seeing autism as a battle to win and started embracing Jackson for exactly who and what he is, my perspective changed and everything changed for that matter. This isn't a Hallmark moment, folks. This is real life. And acceptance is tough. It's messy, but it's necessary to become the best version of yourself for your child with special needs. Parenting an autistic child is like playing a game on the hardest difficulty setting. Small things like a change in routine or a loud noise can feel like an epic boss battle for Jackson. And while it's exhausting at times, helping him navigate those challenges is the most rewarding game I've ever played. Now, don't get me wrong. It's not all sunshine and rainbows. I still get those dreaded phone calls from the school about, quote unquote behavioral incidents. But instead of letting those calls break me, I've learned what to focus on, and I learned to focus on the wins. Like, for example, the time Jackson completed a science assignment in class for the very first time all by himself. Or, the way he lights up when he talks about his favorite topics, whether it's reading a new book or playing a new game, or even, most recently, having a phenomenal performance in his children's drama class. Okay. It's the small victories that remind me why I'm in this game, why I chose to be a parent. And, while I'm being a parent on the hardest difficulty setting, okay, this is why I chose to do it. Okay. Just like, if you have a neurotypical child, and you have an, what's the word I'm looking for? A neurodivergent child. Okay. They're all children, and you have to be the best version of yourself for them. This episode barely scratches the surface of our journey. Okay. There's so much more to share. How my wife and I became Jackson's biggest advocates, how we found strength in our family dynamic, and how we continue to adapt as Jackson grows. But we'll save that for another episode of Dad Games Podcast.